Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Luke and here on this channel I talk about fragrance. In this video I'll delve into the strongest powerhouse vintage perfumes from my collection, hence the title Stinkers or Stars. These fragrances, much as we love them or hate them, they can stink up your entire house. So let's go through them. The first one is a vintage bottle of Ysatis from Givenchy. It came out back in 1984 and it's considered a floral oriental chypre. This is a vintage version from the early 90s and it's so strong that you don't need more than 3 or 4 sprays, I would say. When you spray this, the projection and the sillage is absolutely deafening. It's a cloud of scent in the opening. You get the aldehydes, the tuberose, a bunch of other white florals, some yellow florals like ylang ylang, and it has a very strong animalic / chypre base with lots of honey. It's sweet, it's strong, it's floral, very in your face, very 1980s, very shoulder pads, and it's just the sort of fragrance that most people nowadays will probably consider a stinker. My family considers this a stinker. They absolutely hate it. I love it. I happen to love it. I think it's a masterpiece created by Dominique Ropion back in 1984. It's beautiful, it's strong, it's floral. The tuberose really shines through, but it also has the aldehydes. So it's both floral, oriental, chypre, aldehydic, all at the same time, which makes it a bombastic scent. A typical concoction straight out of the 80s, like Poison by Dior, like White Diamonds by Elizabeth Taylor. It's that sort of fragrance. It's definitely my cup of tea, not for every day, of course. But you tell me down in the comments, is it a stinker or a star? The next fragrance is Giorgio from Estée Lauder. This one is an obnoxious, oriental spicy fragrance, very, very strong, sweet, powdery, in your face. One spray of this fills up the entire room, definitely. I happen to really love it. I love wearing it to bed. Am I crazy? Maybe. I just find this to be the smoothest, velvetiest, oriental. Even though it packs a punch, if you apply it lightly, you can enjoy it if you like balsamic, resinous scents. This one, definitely give it a try. It has some aldehydes in the opening and it also has a Coca-Cola note, which I can definitely smell. I do also detect a hint of carnation and some other florals, but this scent is all about the ambery, resinous, balsamic ingredients. It's smooth, creamy, comforting, very classic smelling, of course, but it's also a powder bomb. It's very powdery. I really love Givenchy, what can I tell you? It's one of my most beloved classic scents. And it's also very affordable. The quality that you get for this price for, I don't know, 30 euros, dollars, pounds, is just incredible. You don't need an expensive niche scent. If you want a classic oriental, just get this one. Do yourself a favor and get this one. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was worn by several Hollywood actresses, including Marlene Dietrich, Joan Crawford, Dolores Del Rio, Gloria Swanson, and some other ones, even Madonna, allegedly. This is another one that my family absolutely hates. I sprayed it in my parents' house the other day. I did one spray and they could all smell it and they commented and it was too strong. They didn't like it. Well, I happen to love it. To me, this is one of the most beautiful oriental scents. Of course, it's been reformulated. It's had, some people say that it's had a facelift. Of course, that's true, but it's still beautiful and I absolutely love it. But, tell me in the comments, is it a stinker or a star? Moving on, we've got Ciara from Revlon. This is another oriental, but this one is even stronger than Givenchy, in my opinion. If you want to smell like incense sticks and raspberry, then check out Ciara. This is the true, old school, dusty, powdery, incensey oriental fragrance. It's ambery, balsamic, woody, smoky, leathery, powdery, vanillic. It's very balsamic, but once it dries down, it gets sweet and powdery and animalic. I absolutely love it. but it will be too much for most people because it's an absolute bomb of a fragrance. When you spray this, even if you just do one spray, this is the 100% strength EDP, by the way, not the EDC, Eau de Cologne. Even with one spray, this fragrance fills a room. It's an explosive fragrance. And when it dries down on your skin, it does get sweeter, more powdery, vanillic, more wearable. I really enjoy it. It reminds me of Lulu from Cacharel, but it's not for everyone. For someone who's not into vintage fragrances, for someone who loves modern designer fragrances, and maybe one or two vintage fragrances, this one will be an absolute nightmare, believe me. So don't blind buy it. Only blind buy it if you're familiar with strong oriental incensey fragrances from the 70s, 80s, 90s, those kind of fragrances. It's also a safe blind buy if you love Bal à Versailles, and maybe if you love Lulu by Cacharel. Of course, that doesn't make it a safe blind buy, but I really love it occasionally and in very small doses. So that's Ciara from Revlon. Tell me in the comments, is it a star or a stinker? The next fragrance that I really want to talk about in this video, because I don't remember to mention it on my channel often enough, is Anais by Cacharel. And please don't be fooled by the bottle. This is an absolute powerhouse of a fragrance. It's a classic bitter powdery white floral scent with hyacinth, lily, oak moss. Yes, it's a romantic fragrance. It's sentimental, it's strong, it's vintage, it's very French, it's very floral, but it also has a chypre quality, and it's definitely more powdery, mossy, green than sweet. So again, for the majority of people who like your typical designer fragrances, this one will be a stinker. This one will be a nightmare. I really have to be in the mood for it because it's such a cold, austere, and astringent floral. So it's not easy to wear and it's incredibly strong. The projection is, again, nuclear. When you spray this, you can fill a room with only a couple of sprays. When I decide to wear it, I never do more than 3 or 4 sprays of this one, even though it's the reformulated version. It's the modern formula, not the vintage one. I can't even imagine what that one must have been like. So that's Anais from Cacharel. Is it a stinker or a star? You tell me. Moving on, we've got another oldie but a goodie. This is Giorgio Beverly Hills from 1981. This is the Eau de Toilette, if I'm not mistaken. It's an 80s style tuberose fragrance, and boy does it pack a punch. This one can fill a room. It opens with your typical 1980s style cacophony of notes. It's sweet, green, fresh, floral, powdery, fruity, mossy. The soul of this scent is a bouquet of white flowers, mainly tuberose, gardenia, some jasmine, ylang ylang. To me, this is a very sunny, uplifting and happy scent, but it has a bite. It bites. It's so strong. When you first spray this, it can be too much, and it does smell a bit chemical, I'm not going to lie. Even though it smells super luxurious when it dries down, the opening can be challenging for some people. It's by no means a modern smelling fragrance. It has a very nice kind of oak mossy chypre base, some musk, vanilla and woodiness, but it's a very opulent, loud, no-nonsense kind of fragrance. It fills a room, packs a punch, and it will knock people out if you overspray it. So that's Giorgio by Giorgio Beverly Hills. Last but not least, we've got Knowing by Estée Lauder, launched back in 1988. This is a chypre floral, chypre woody, and it's definitely a free spray kind of fragrance. I never do more than 3 sprays. I did 5, 6, when I got it. It was too much. This is such a strong fragrance. It packs a punch. When you first spray it, it fills a room. And it can be overwhelming because you literally get all the notes at once. You get the aldehydes, the florals, the mosses, the woods, the powdery ingredients, the spices. This fragrance, even though it's a woody chypre, it contains everything but the kitchen sink. You have to be patient with this one because underneath all that greenery, aromatic notes, woods and mosses, there is something sweet and something really pleasant. And don't get me wrong, I love the opening as well, but it's just one of those fragrances that you really have to be in the mood for, because when you spray this, it's an explosion of 26 different notes. Fragrances like this are completely out of fashion, to be honest, because nowadays everyone is looking for, I mean, not everyone, but most people are looking for, a nice, fruity, caramelly opening, something easy to wear, something pleasant. And don't get me wrong, I do love my vanilla scents, but with classics like Knowing from Estée Lauder, you have to have patience. You have to slow down in this crazy fast-paced world. You have to slow down, spray the fragrance, wait a couple of minutes, smell it, spray it again, and then you start smelling all the different nuances and textures. You start smelling maybe the civet, the oak moss, and you start to appreciate the art and craft of perfumery, in this case, American perfumery, because Knowing is an American fragrance. When I started my perfume journey, I didn't like Knowing. I didn't like any of the Chanel fragrances, but now I do because I appreciate them as works of art. I love the way they smell. I love the way they develop on my skin. My nose has developed and my tastes have expanded. And now I happen to love my vintage stinkers, Some people call them stinkers. Some people call them old lady fragrances. I don't care. I love my vintage stinkers. Sometimes I'm in the mood for vanilla. That's okay. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a classic chypre. And that's perfectly fine because I have them all. But the only way to appreciate the art of perfumery is to slow down, to stop over-consuming, and to get to know the fragrances that you have, and then take it from there. Because let me tell you something, the perfume community is in a bad way. The kinds of videos that have been popping up on my feed recently, decluttering 500 fragrances, fragrance haul, 60 new fragrances, it's crazy. So I really think we should slow down as a society and start appreciating fragrances in a completely different way from what these bigger content creators are showing us. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments which fragrances you consider to be stinkers. Do you like vintage stinkers? Don't you like them? I'd love to chat in the comments. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye.